We have on Mr. Jimmy Rex, who is a renowned figure in the personal development and real estate space, and his new book, which we talk about today, which is Be One: How to Be a Healthy Man in a Toxic Time. This is a really powerful chat. We're going to be diving in. Do you want blissful balance in your personal and professional life? Great. What's up, guys? My name is Kerry Jack, and I want to help you happy hustle a life you love, one full of passion, purpose, and positive impact. I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur, a professional model / actor, a digital marketing specialist, a podcast host, author, a biohacker, an eco-warrior, a martial artist, a hippie cowboy, and a humanitarian. My goal is to educate, inspire, and entertain you to live a life of passion, purpose, and positive impact. It is time to happy hustle your dream reality. Yee! All right, Mr. Jimmy Rex, welcome to the Happiest Podcast, my brother. I am super stoked to rock the mic with you.
Dude, great to be here, man. Thanks for having me on, Gary.
Yeah, man. Stoked to just connect with you and share your story, your wisdom. I mean, you're a serial entrepreneur. You cut your teeth in the real estate industry and really we're quite successful there and still are. You're a best-selling author, award-winning podcaster, and you have a lot going on, especially a new book coming out, which I'm excited to dive into. But before we get into all that good stuff, Jimmy, what's something interesting about yourself that not too many people know?
Something interesting that not many people know. You know, when I was a kid, me and my friends were giant Chris Farley fans. We just were all in on Chris Farley, and he died my sophomore year of high school in 1997. And me and my friends got together that night just to honor him. We watched all of his videos and stayed up all night gorging ourselves with the worst food we could imagine in his honor, and eating bear claws and meat lovers pizza from the trunk, the whole bit. And we decided we would do this little Chris Farley film festival every year. And when I was like 21, I was just messing around on the internet, and I came across there was a website. It was the Chris Farley Foundation. And so I reached out to him and I told him, like, hey, we do this thing every year. How can we support you? And it turned out it was his older brother, Tom Farley, that started the organization. And he said, well, tell you what, how would you guys like to become the official fan club of Chris Farley? There's not one. I was like, done. And so I became the president of the Chris Farley fan club officially. And when he got a star on Hollywood, like a year later, he got a star on Hollywood, and his brother called me and said, hey, we'd love to have you guys out. So we went out for the celebration, and there's only about 70 of us there. It was like a lot of the guys from Paramount that did, Black Sheep and Tommy Boy and his brother, his family, his mom. We hung out with like Adam Sandler, Chris Rock, David Spade, Tom Arnold, Gary Busey. It was just a really beautiful thing. And so me and his brother, Tom, we ended up doing an event together one time. We've stayed good friends. And so I am the official or unofficial, you could say, president of the Chris Farley fan club. That's something not many people know. That's kind of fascinating.
Yeah, let's go. That's awesome. I mean, what a legend in comedy. And I know you've done comedy. We were talking about. Yeah. I mean, he really is. You got into comedy. Fun fact we have in common. I actually did about 3.5 years of Second City Improv in Chicago. So I went through all their program, A3E.
Wow, very cool, man. So you're very familiar with Chris Farley. He's like the ultimate alumni.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a stud group of alumni, but he's definitely at the top of the heap. And I do think improv and comedy is such a valuable skill set for life and business. How would you say your comedic timing and attributes have positively affected your business endeavors?
Yeah, it's been huge. Stage presence is one of those things that is so valuable in the workplace, and what I'm doing now with coaching and speaking. I just threw my big event this last weekend, had about 500 people show up for my event.
Nice.
Ed Milet was our keynote speaker, Erwin McManus, Chris Williams. So yeah, it was a pretty cool event. And, getting up there, it's fun because being able to think quick on your feet, being able to riff, being able to hold space, being able to just be curious and bring, different views on things. Those things all play a part in my life every single day. And that stage presence, I recommend everybody. I challenge the guys that I coach to go do a stand-up, to do a 5-minute open mic night in your local city, because there are so many great qualities that come out of being able to do comedy. And even just getting your mind to start looking at things from a different angle. And, not taking yourself that serious. I always say the most attractive state that a person can be in is a playful state. And so just
Mm.
having that view where when things are going wrong, it's not like you're not, you don't break down, you don't cry, you don't lose it. You
Yeah.
simply get to enjoy it and kind of laugh at yourself and kind of appreciate it. And those skills all, man, in my life, I coach over 400 men one-on-one. And so
Wow.
I'm constantly dealing when you got 400 guys in your
Yeah.
leadership program, you're
Yeah.
constantly dealing with big issues. And so my life is putting out those fires. My life is helping those guys, and if I'm not able to detach myself from it and just kind of, enjoy the ridiculousness of all of this life, the beautiful mess that we get to call life, I wouldn't be very good at my job.
Yeah, man. Amen to all that. I mean, it's such a powerful tool being able to riff, as you said, to improv. I mean, life's improv, right? Like you never really know what's going to happen. And you got to be able to react um, and respond with intellect and, you know that it is at the end of the day, something that we're not going to get out alive from, we are all going to pass, and, you just can't take yourself too seriously. I think humor is such a valuable tool, especially with business, especially with selling. And yeah, I'm just stoked that we connect on that point. So
I love it,
awesome,
man.
man. Just speaking of, men and, what you're up to, I know you have a new book called B1, How to Be a Healthy Man in Toxic Times, which I totally resonate with. And I know a lot of our audience, the happy hustlers out there, also resonate with. Whether you're a man right now listening or a woman, which I believe are the only two genders. I don't know your take on that, but I think that's it's something that it's almost tough. It's toxic times, and I'm curious, what was the genesis behind this book?
Yeah, so I've been doing my coaching program for 2.5 years now, and the whole thing is to help men being vulnerable, authentic, and in integrity, and really being able to build community. I mean, we are taught so many things nowadays that that contradict what helps make a healthy human. The nucleus of the family, for an example, twisting words and changing meanings, changing history, right? Trying to make heroes bad guys, and all these different things that really decay a society. And it's very confusing to the average everyday person, and people are more connected than ever through the internet and for their phones, but we're more lonely than ever too.
Mm,
And there's they did a survey recently, and they surveyed thousands of men, and they said, how many people could you call in a crisis to come help you? The average, the number of people that people said, the one that had the highest percentage was zero, right? Like, it wasn't the average or anything like that, but the highest number of people responded with zero, as opposed to 1, 2, 3, 5. I mean, there's a lot less community than there used to be.
yeah.
There's 5 times as much loneliness as there used to be. And so kind of what I wanted to do, what the impetus of this book was, or my program essentially started, was help men connect. That's one thing I've always been able to do, is help men connect on a deep level. And I started coaching last year one-on-one with Ed Milet. And he was the
Nice.
one that said, dude, this is so good what you're working. We got to get this into the hands of the masses. He's like, let's write a book and get
Mm,
it out there. And so I
yeah.
basically took all of the things I've been learning. I took all of the program essentially that I run, and I put it into this book so that everybody could get their hands on it. I'm proud to say, Ed wrote the foreword for my book, and he
Yeah.
had the number one nonfiction book last year. And
Oh, I
so,
know.
long story short, this book really is just for these crazy times that we're in, where people don't know where to turn. They don't know how to, they know something's missing. They know something's feeling a little bit empty, but they're not sure exactly what to do. This book is like a roadmap to help them figure that out.
Wow. Yeah, I love it, man. You mentioned Ed Milet and his book. I was actually at his book launch. I don't know if you were there in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Were you? Oh man, we didn't
Not the one in
link.
North Carolina. I went to the one in California.
Oh, got you. Yeah. So one of my best bros is Rory, who ran his book launch, Vaden, and yeah, so I went and was helping out Ed and just kind of in the back end, just being a utility player, and that book was phenomenal. And I see a lot of symmetry, right, with, your book as well. And it makes sense that you're in the trenches coaching. What would you say if you had to, you know, I know it's on the off the cuff here, but if you had to distill some of Ed's greatest wisdom that he's given you, maybe the most powerful takeaway in recent memory, what would you say that is?
Yeah, well, the thing that Ed does so well, and he does this thing, he says, let me tell you about you. I don't know if you ever heard him talk about that
Yeah.
or not. And when he did that with me, like I've had a lot of people, kiss my ass or tell me things I'd wanted to hear and things like that. But the thing that Ed does so well is he has a unique ability to truly see what makes you special and
Mm,
be able to help you understand that he sees it in you. And so it's
yeah.
one thing when people say, "Oh yeah, no, this is a thing that about you," but if it's not true, you kind of know it deep down, and so it doesn't really move the
Yeah.
needle, right? The thing that Ed does so well is that when he does that, you can tell that it's honest about yourself. You understand, you're like, yeah, that is true. That is something about me. And so when he
Mm,
says it, he sees humans. And one of the biggest issues, one of the things I do in my men's program is I help the men just be seen. So
mm,
many guys, they just in their world, nobody sees what they do. Nobody sees what they struggle with. Nobody sees what they're going through. And so in this program, I really help people be seen. That's what Ed does so well is he helps people see who they are. And so every time I talk to Ed, I walk away feeling like, dude, this is my best friend. Like this guy gets
yeah.
me. This guy sees me. I think that's his gift is helping others. Because a weak leader says, look how great I am. But a great leader says, look how great you are. And that's what Ed
Mm,
does so well is he helps you see your own brilliance or your own genius in yourself.
yeah. So true. Yeah. He really is phenomenal at highlighting your attributes and just supporting people in their greatness, and I can definitely resonate with that message and that takeaway. You talk about like a framework for self actualization,
Mhm.
and I'm really curious to dive into some of the framework. I know, given the length of the podcast, people are going to just have to pick up a copy of the book to really go deeper into the framework, but give us the nuts and bolts of this framework for self-actualization, which I know is adapted from the We Are They
Weird.
course. We Are
Yeah.
the They, excuse me.
Yeah. No, you're all good, man. It's so there's basically the transformation of change, right? Like how do people truly make difference? How do they truly change in their life? There's really 5 steps to this that I talk about. And step number 1 is they have to take a moral stand. They have to make a conscious decision that they're going to do it differently,
Mm,
right? And so that's step number 1. Step number 2 is they have to change their behaviors. What do I need to
mm,
start doing? What do I need to stop doing? We all kind of know. One of the things I do when I coach guys is I say, dude, you know what you
yeah,
need to do.
yeah, yeah.
If I
So
was
true.
coaching you, what would I tell you to do? And people already know the answer 9 times out of 10. So that's the second thing. The third thing is they got to have extreme accountability. You just do. It's if we don't have people that are holding us accountable or that we've told our goals and dreams to or what we're going to do differently, then it's very difficult to follow through with them sometimes because things just come up and sometimes it just becomes difficult to do those things. And the fourth one is you have to have a support group. You have to have a
Mm,
brotherhood. You have to have people that, are going to have your back no matter what. That's the next one. And then the
yeah.
last one is you have to find a mentor. And
Yep.
what I look for, so the people that I hire or that I try to get around that I let mentor me, what I do is I basically say, who is currently where I want to be that
Yeah.
used to be where I'm at? And when I can find that person, then I can shrink time. I can compress time by getting in that person's world. So I
Mm,
can look at Ed right now and be like, okay, he's 10 years ahead of me. He's exactly where I want to be in 10 years. So I'm going to get in that guy's world. I'm doing everything I can to be around him, to be in, his world. And then I'm going to learn so many. I'm going to save so much hardship and headaches and things that he had to go through that he can then teach me that I can speed it up with.
mm. Yeah, those are powerful. That the framework, I think framework in that IP is so imperative. This is like a twofold statement. One, as a business owner and entrepreneur, you need your own IP and you need your own framework. And two, in order to create true transformation, you need a framework. You need a roadmap for people to follow. I created the soul mapping framework for our community, the happy hustlers out there know listening if they've followed the show much, but this is our soul mapping framework on how to actually achieve blissful balance, both personally and professionally. Because, frankly, without, a framework, it's difficult. Like it's a constant ebb and flow, and people burn out, especially, probably a lot of our friends and mutual contacts. And I love this framework for self-actualization. You talk about a moral standard, that in and of itself is profound. Let's stay there for a beat. What do you qualify as a moral standard, and how does one go about cultivating it?
Yeah, I mean, I think morality is an interesting issue, right? And integrity is an interesting thing because it's so individualized.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's when you are the same person when people are looking versus when nobody's looking. It's when you get to be honest about what you are and who you are. It's when what you say aligns with what you do. There's a lot
Yeah.
of different ways to look at it, but ultimately, I think being, taking a moral stand is just deciding what type of person you're going to be. Are you
Mm,
going to be a person that's a giver or a taker? Are you going to increase, happiness around you? Are people happy to be around? Like, can people trust you? Or do you go out of your way to make sure that people's lives are better when they meet you? Are people, because you're in their life is better? Those are all the kinds of things you just want to ask yourself different questions to come up with this, ideal of what it looks like to be a person in integrity.
yeah.
Do you lie? Do you steal? Do you cheat? Those are kind of the basic things. But the next level of that is like, is at what level do you, achieve the thing that you set out to do? Like, how honest are you with how you go about your day, or what you do?
Hmm.
When you say you're going to do something, how confident can people be around you that you're going to do that? And there's levels to it. And it's a spectrum, right? But like ultimately, you just need to decide what type of person you're going to be.
Yeah. Man, I love it. I mean, are you a father by chance? I didn't.
I'm not. No,
You're
never
not.
been married, no kids.
No, no kids. I didn't know if you were. I couldn't find anything on it. If so, but
Hey, let me know if you
I
find anything because I'd like to know that too.
yeah, yeah, you might have a kid somewhere out there. We'll find him. Um, but I just recently became a father, 4 month old little baby boy, and the questions you're discussing, like what kind of man do you really want to be? How do you show up in full integrity? Those are the questions that I now ask myself even more so, and how I operate in everyday reality. I would be the first one to tell you, growing up, I was not in integrity. I was up to no good. I was doing all the things wrong, and I don't want to get into it. I have in the past, but to spare time, I made a shift after getting arrested and like going to jail. I was like, this is not for me. This life of crime and out of integrity and theft and lying and cheating and stealing and all the things. Um, and I, from that moment forward, I vowed. Actually, Zig Ziglar talks about one of my best, greatest digital mentors. I don't know if you follow Zig's work much, but
Of course, yeah.
he talks about riding on your seat of character, and it's all about operating with integrity. And I think integrity single-handedly is one of the most important components of ultimate fulfillment. Like, if you're out of integrity and you want to be happy and joyous and fulfilled, you'll have a problem getting there. And I just love that that's part of your framework, and frankly the first piece to the puzzle, right? I
It is,
mean,
yeah.
has there been a time where you were out of integrity and you maybe flipped the switch, and if so, what was that catalyst moment?
Yeah, plenty of times, man. I mean, that's part of like the human experience, right? Is like, again,
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we can do is constantly, I think something that's important for us is to give ourselves grace.
Mm,
I've absolutely been out of integrity. I've yelled at people when I was the reason why the mistake happened. I blamed others when I needed to look at myself. I've said things to hurt somebody that I didn't, maybe I shouldn't have said in that moment. I've had a bad habit of, I know how to go for the jugular. And so I can say the thing that's going to cause the most damage type of thing. And I've done all those things, and part of growing up and becoming a better man and a better person is learning from those mistakes and going, how can I use my own pain or my own inexperience or my own problem here to help other people not make the same mistake? And so
mm,
most of the lessons that I teach in my program, it's not because I've never made these mistakes. It's because I have, right?
yeah.
I've most of these issues that I can understand men on a pretty deep level because I've committed most of these problems or these failures or whatever that might be. So I've had plenty of times, and I think it's life is just a dance to constantly try to get better, to be better, and to grow and not make more of those mistakes.
Yeah. Well said. Sage words, man. I think if you're not making those mistakes, it's hard to be relatable. And if you're not being honest about making those mistakes, then you're definitely not going to be relatable, because people's BS meters are higher than ever these days. Like they can sense a snake in the grass. Like people, the fake guru standing in front of the rented Lambos, like it's, I feel like the people's discernment now is really getting sharper,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
it has
people
to
want
be.
authenticity, man. Like
Yeah.
above all else, people want authenticity, and that doesn't
Yeah.
mean that you share everything about your life, but it means you don't lie about it. Like you're seeing,
Yeah.
there's a really fun Instagram page right now called Baller Busters, right? And they
Mm,
call out these fake gurus. They call out these guys that are, pretending to be something that they're not. And I think that ultimately is what it means to be in an integrity is you're just being authentic. You're not trying
yeah.
to portray that you're something that you're not.
Yeah. I never heard that Instagram handle. I'm gonna have to check that out after this. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's pretty funny. They call out about everybody, man. If you well, what
Oh,
they do, they
really?
just they just basically take these people that are just lying online or
Yeah.
or out of integrity essentially, and they call them out for it, and they come with receipts every time, and so people
Oh,
don't have
shit.
anything to say.
Hey, it's needed, man. We need it, because these false digital identities oftentimes doesn't represent the truth. And, I know you're all about speaking the truth, especially to your global men's community. Talk to us about that. The community is called We Are the They. Explain to us, what the meaning of that, title even means.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Apologies for interrupting your programming. But I have to tell you, the best investment you can make in yourself is one in which helps you acquire skills. You've probably heard people talk about, oh, just invest in yourself and you'll be successful. Yes, that's true to a degree, but you have to invest in skills that will ultimately help you achieve your desired results. And I think one of the best skills one can possess, be it an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur, is the sales sword. Really knowing how to sell, utilizing pressure free persuasion, which will make you more money and more impact. Now, if you want to know how to sell more efficiently and effectively, I just launched a sales course called The Proven Roadmap Process to Selling Millions of Dollars and helping you to increase your conversions guaranteed. And you can get access to this new sales course that the Happy Hustle is launching at thehappyhustle.com/sales. And if you act fast, you'll get it at the lowest price it'll ever be available because we are launching it and we want to gain amazing testimonials and social proof to further share this knowledge. So if you act fast, you can get it at the lowest price it'll ever be. That's at thehappyhustle.com/sales. Now let's get back to this episode.
Yeah. So long story short, I used to work with a group that would go undercover and help rescue kids that were being sex trafficked. A group called Operation Underground Railroad.
Yep, I know it
And
well.
so
I've
while I was
donated to it too, as well.
awesome, yeah. So while I was working with them, I ended up going on 13 ops undercover with different groups. A couple of other
Wow.
groups I worked with as well. And I was coming back from one of them. It was a very, it was like a super dangerous one that was in Latin America. And long story short, when my girlfriend picked me up from the airport in my truck, I'm telling her this story, and we'd had this big rescue and this op, and it was really an amazing time. And she pulls over and she says, "Hey, I don't really want you to do this anymore." I said, "What are you talking about? This is part of my life's mission now." She's like, "No, but it's super dangerous. It's a bad environment." I was like, "Yeah, but this is like, did you not just hear what I said? We just had this rescue." She goes, "I know, but why can't they just go do it?" And without even thinking, I said, "Well, there is no they. We are the they." And when I
Mm,
said that, it shot shivers down my spine. I was like, "Oh my gosh, we are the they. Like nobody else is going to come do this. You have to be the one to do it." And so for me, that became it just became a motto for my life. Basically, like be the person, be the difference you want to see in the world, kind of thing. Like no one's coming to save you, do it yourself. And so that's essentially what we are that they means and where it comes from.
yeah. It's powerful, man. It's all about taking accountability in your own reality. And I just feel like there's this victimization culture, where everyone just identifies with, yeah, being like a victim, or not everyone, but a fair amount of people, like they succumb to that persona because it oftentimes begets attention, right? And if you can really step into your own power, take accountability, know that no one's coming to save you. You got to save yourself. And then when you save yourself, you can then save others, right? It's the old put your oxygen mask on first adage, right?
Yeah, same
When you,
principle. Yep.
yeah, exactly. When it comes to your men's group, your community, how do you actually operationalize that wisdom?
Yeah, I mean, it's with as much as I have going on with as many guys as I'm coaching and everything else, I we don't try to focus too much on like this is the exact way you need to do things or this is the way you need to live. It's more about being the type of person that whatever that is in your world. For some people, that's just showing up as dad every day. That's having your house in order. That's physically, financially, emotionally, spiritually being in a place where you can raise and be that influence on your own kids. For other people, it's coaching a sports team in high school. For other people, it might be, putting together a community event where you help people or whatever. And so ultimately it's just a way of being, right? It's being the type of person that's going to look for ways to benefit other people and to really benefit their life. And so we don't focus so much on like, here's how you do this or like specifically what you should do. It's more just how you should be as a human being. And I think that allows a lot of room for people to be who use their own skills and talents the best for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Just being the example and living every day, with that, again, integrity. And then, you're the sum of your 5 closest relationships, right? Rounding up, being around people and having that community to lean on, especially in times of adversity. I know a lot of the happy hustlers out there are entrepreneurs and also aspiring entrepreneurs, and they're interested in the membership community. I'm curious if you don't mind pulling back the curtain a little bit. I know we're kind of talking about your community. Talk to us about the structure and maybe, a pro and a con of the membership community model.
Sure. I've been in my own search to fix my life or to become a better version of myself. I've always kind of been obsessed with becoming essentially the best person I could be. And so I've been to every conference and mastermind and been a part of all these events. And I've had all the coaches and I've, read a bunch of the books and done all those things. So in my search to fix myself or figure my own self out, I just got the opportunity to be a part of a lot of things. I saw a lot of things. So I saw the good and I saw the bad, And so what I did with my own program when I launched, because originally I felt like an imposter. I was like, who am I to help other people? Like I have plenty of parts of my life I haven't been able to figure out yet. And it came to me because one of my coaches, one of my friends, actually, she asked me a brilliant question. She just said, well, Jimmy, who needs this? Like what you have to offer. And what I realized is I'd had all these guys that have been reaching out to me and saying, where do I find a group of friends like you have? And I don't have all the answers for everything, but I know how to help men connect on a deeper level. So my particular group, my particular mastermind, the genius of the whole thing is it helps people connect on a deeper level. And what's the value of a friend? What's the value of friendship? What's the value of really connecting with other humans to do life with? And so for me, as opposed to being like, I figured out life, this is how you should do it. I mean, there's a lot of coaching and training, but I bring a lot of people in to kind of help with all that. What I do is help people connect on a deeper level. And that is something that I've been able to kind of master. And so for my group, the thing that's the most important about this is the relationships, the friendships. There was a woman just on a Thursday night right before our group event. Our big event was Friday, Saturday this weekend. Nice. And on Thursday, one of the ladies whose husband joined our group originally, and we've now set up a women's group and everything else that goes with it. But, they're from Tucson, Arizona, and they'd never had a group of close friends. They never had close friends. They had each other, but they never had friends. And she had her 40th birthday party, and over 50 members of our community, her best friends, showed up for it. They spent all weekend hanging out, and they told me, she said, I used to hate my birthday because it was just, there was nothing to celebrate. And now she said, I've truly thank you from the bottom of my heart for this gift that is these best friends. I had another guy last week posted, he said, I never thought I'd meet my best friends at 41 years old. But so I think what I've been able to do is essentially create atmospheres. Because here's one thing I learned about humans. You can't change anybody. And the second you try to, you're going to be very frustrated. But what you can do is you can create an environment safe enough where they want to change themselves. And that's what we do. And so ultimately, the thing that I think is great about my personal membership model is it is almost a guarantee. I've seen it with hundreds of guys now. If you come and you participate, you're going to walk away with best friends. And,
Mm.
one of the guys this weekend had an injury, had to go to the hospital. And I mean, he had literally 20 dudes from our group stop by to visit him in the hospital in one weekend,
Wow.
just a crazy thing. And that's how it is, though. And so that's, I think above all else, I try to create a community where people really connect. I mean, they're just not having those deep connections like they used to. And so you have to almost create atmospheres where that can take place. The disadvantage of the membership model, I mean, ultimately, there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of groups that you probably don't benefit that much from. I think there's a lot of people that it's very low bar to get into this industry. And so I think a lot of people try to do things. They don't really come from much experience or really have a great way to help others. They're just trying to do it for the wrong reasons. And so I think that ultimately it can be a little bit tricky to figure out which group to join. And so you do have to be careful that way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. I mean, I love that you're creating a safe place for men to just flourish and also connect on a deeper level. Like you said, there's a lot of deal friends, not real friends, right? I forget who said that, but I'd love to give credit. But I do believe there's a lot of deal friends out there, and you really need to know who you could trust, who you can call on in times of adversity, who you can call, as they say, to bury the body, right? That's a real friend, right? And not saying anyone go out there and do that and test it, but the truth is, this is, the level of aspiration of connection that I think everyone aspires to. And it's just so cool to see that you've, created it, and, you're doing events with your community. I know events are a really awesome way to integrate the practices in real time, and also to build that relationship in a much deeper way. It's difficult online. We could be friends, sure, but there's something about breaking bread together and spending real time, right?
Yeah,
When
even
you
in my
do,
events, I make us all sleep in the same Airbnb. We get
oh
Airbnbs that
yeah,
have 50 or 60 beds, and we have guys from the group themselves cook for everybody. And yeah, man, it's like we really create
that's
it.
awesome.
There's some certain things you can do that just help you create a much deeper connection.
Oh yeah, that's that's one of the things that inadvertently we've created with our Montana Mastermind Epic Camping Adventures. Is we go into the wilderness for 5 days, no phones, no service. You're completely off the grid. You're taking a dump in the woods together. You're, swimming in natural bodies of water. We're learning together primitive survival skills and sitting around the campfire crying about, things that maybe you've never shared, because it's just this safe harbor to just be raw. And I think for you, what you're creating is so awesome. That's why I knew we'd connect and have a bunch in common. And kudos to you, man, for what you're building and what you've built. For the people out there who are interested in like going deeper, I know the book is definitely a great starting place, but where can people go to even learn more about the actual community?
Yeah, so I mean, our website is We Are the They. If you go to WATT movement.com, in my Instagram, Mr. Jimmy Rex, in the bio, we've got the link there that leads to the website. So those are probably the two easiest ways to get to it. But yeah, man, check us out if people are interested. I have a documentary. I've been trying to capture what this really is. These weekends when we're together, it's really hard to do it.
Mm,
And so what I've done is I created a documentary to be coming out in the next week or so, where
cool.
we go in depth. It's about an hour and 20 minutes, and it really showcases what we're doing with these groups. And I encourage people, to follow me on Instagram. I'll be posting it pretty soon. But if you like what you see, if you're interested, if you're looking for a community of like-minded individuals, check us out, man. But that's the best way to really see what this thing is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, definitely recommend checking it out. I got the site up here, and it's, lots of awesome info on there. The we are the they movement.com, right? And you guys can, go deeper, maybe apply, maybe join, right? Um, the other thing you mentioned is social media. And I know you've been able to grow a brand online, a personal brand at that. And it's a noisy marketplace out there. It's also exhausting, right? Like constantly in the vortex, creating content, putting yourself out there, responding to DMs. A lot of people get overwhelmed by just the concept of building a personal brand and really, you know,
just the the energy required to do it at a high level, which you have been able to. When you advise people on social media strategies and building a brand, what are, maybe the key three if you had to distill it?
Sure. I think the most important thing is number one, you gotta realize why you're doing it, because it is a lot of work. And if you're not in it for the right reasons, it's not going to be very fun. I mean, when I started my podcast, the best advice I ever got was, do it as if you don't care if anyone ever listens. Joe Rogan talks about that too, but
Yeah.
like, it's true. Because you're not going to get the likes, you're not going to get the attention, you're not going to get the money or anything like that from your podcast when you first start out. You just won't. When I first started my podcast, man, it was terrible. I remember some of my first podcasts were, oh my gosh, I don't even go into it, but they were atrocious. And in the last week, I've had on my podcast Roger Clemens, Grant Cardone, Ed Milet, Chris Williamson. I mean, some of the biggest people on the planet now, right? That's in the last week. I mean, I'm literally to a point now where, but my point is I'm 550 episodes in. I'm 7.5 years of doing this. That's why I now have the reach that I do. And so the most important thing is the consistency, man. I've never gone more than a week with 7 days without putting out an episode. I put out 2 to 3 episodes a week. I'm very intentional about why I'm doing it, what I'm trying to do. I've never done a podcast without studying the guest for at least 2 to 3 hours. That's one thing I recommend to people. Like, you're just going to have a better conversation if you do your homework. And so that's number one that I would say. Number two is going to be you have to figure out, why would somebody watch this? Like, what would make this interesting? So you have to do one of 3 things. You've got to be entertaining, you got to be educational, or you got to be interesting. Like, one of the 3. So those are the 3 things, or, inspirational, I guess you could say. So like, if you're going to do it, like, figure out a reason why your content will be intriguing. Like, so many people right now are posting ice baths, right? It's been a very popular thing from them. And it's like, they're awesome. I love them. I have 2 ice baths. I have one at my house. I have one at my office. They're great. But nobody gives a shit at this point about posting ice bath. There's like no gain in doing it. So anything that you put out there, it's just not going to move the needle at all. And so, like, you got to ask yourself, like, all right, why am I putting this out? What's the point of putting this out? What am I trying to get from this? And when you do that, then all of a sudden, and by the way, you got to treat it like a full-time job. If you're going to really put out any good content, I spend 20 hours a week creating content, just creating content. This podcast is 1 hour of my week creating content, right? Last weekend, I threw my biggest event of the year. But I also did 5 podcasts from Thursday night till Sunday afternoon, because I had certain guests in town that I wanted to have on the podcast. So I had to do all that extra work. And that's what separates people that are really taking this serious versus those who are not. By the way, excellence isn't for everybody. Like, being an influencer isn't for everybody. If you want to do it, it's a minimum 20 hours a week. You got to take it serious. And if not, all good, but don't expect to get any traction if you're not taking it serious.
Keeping it real, brother. I love it. I mean, that's the truth. It's one of those things, you reference your podcast and that persistent consistency. We haven't missed an episode, 2 episodes every week for 4 years. We're coming up on our 450th episode. And that's what I tell people. It's like, commit to doing 200 episodes minimum. That's what I did when I first started. I was like, I don't care if anyone listens or everyone listens. I'm going to just commit to 200, and then when we got to 200, we recommitted another 200, now another, so it's just one of those things. There's no shortcut to success. Everyone wants the get rich quick scheme or the 6-minute abs pill, right? But it's not out there. Maybe Jimmy, I don't know if you've seen it, but I don't think so, right? It's like, you got to do the work. And especially if you want to differentiate yourself in a noisy marketplace, which is social media and just, the business economy at large, you have to think about, okay, what's in it for them, right? You mentioned the ice baths, dude. I so hear you on that. We were doing ice baths. I ran a biohacking company prior to the Happy Hustle for 3 years. We had Wim Hof on the podcast before anyone even knew who he was, and Laird Hamilton and a bunch of other studs, and it was like, okay, ice baths were like getting really popular, and we just stopped posting about them because it became this fad. And I just think you have to really put yourself in the shoes of your perfect, avatar and who you want to serve, and think about what problem you can solve with your content.
Yeah.
Hook, create a great hook and really deliver on that hook, and that promise throughout the content, even if it's short form or long form. And yeah, man, I see you as a great example of just putting in the work, being able to grow a brand. I mean, you have, the proof right there to follow. Jimmy, you could check him out at Mr. Jimmy Rex, right? Is that the same for LinkedIn and TikTok? Same handle, or?
Yeah, Mr. Jimmy Rex is my Instagram. It's either Mr. Jimmy Rex or Jimmy Rex on every platform.
Okay, awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has been just a great combo. And, I want to urge everyone to get the book. I feel I would be remiss if I didn't just kind of ask you about, becoming a healthy man in these toxic times. Like, it's kind of a crazy, time to be a white male, especially, right? Like, and I don't take it for granted. Like, we hit the freaking lottery, man, being born in America, being a white male. Like, I'm so blessed and grateful. And I'm just curious, like, how do you recommend men just take that first step towards healthy masculinity?
Yeah, I mean, number one is you've got to, it's the formula that I gave earlier, but like you've got
Yeah.
to get real with yourself.
Yeah.
You've got to just say like, all right, like enough's enough. Like, what kind of person do you want to be? And if I think there's skills that certain people just don't have. That's why coaching and programs like mine and the other ones that are out there are important for that. But it's like just learning how to be, essentially how to live in your masculine, how to be able to go to your feminine, but not to live there. Some of these different things, but ask yourself, like, all right, like, one question I love to ask myself is what would a good person do? Like, and start doing those things, literally doing the hard things, like getting your house. Or number one is like, if you're physically not in good shape, if you couldn't run and save your family, if you couldn't protect your family, if you couldn't fight for people that you needed to, then you need to, physically, you need to get yourself there. Financially, I mean, if, God, you can't be a liability to the people that love you. You've got to be an asset. If shit hit the fan tomorrow, would you be able to help out? Or are you going to be the person that is going around and asking for help? And if you're not there, then you need to strategically get unbalanced in whatever area of your life you're out of integrity in. And then, emotionally, like do the work, spend the time, go to meditating and going for walks and sitting in silence and doing some of these things that allow you to get to know yourself and to love yourself and to forgive yourself and some of these things. And then just showing up for the people in your life, whether that's your kids, your family, your friends, whoever that might be. I mean, that's kind of a good start, but that's where it starts, man. That's what it looks like. It's just getting your own house in order. And then from that place, it's just a little bit of refining all the time, when you're not going to be perfect. And so when you do something you shouldn't have, or you fall a little bit, you immediately get back and, you talk to the people you need to get back into integrity and just keep doing that until eventually you get to a place where you're pretty proud of the person looking back. That you have confidence because you're, feel guided by God in what you're doing.
Yeah, man. What would a good person do? That's a really powerful question to ask yourself daily, right? I'm sure you ask yourself daily in each situation.
Like if litter falls on the ground, pick it up. If you pee on the seat, wipe it off, like if somebody's whatever, like needs a little hand, give it to them, little things like that go a long ways, man.
I always use the grocery cart example, like return your damn grocery cart. It's like it's an extra second, but it just speaks volumes to your character. So we're super aligned, man. This is awesome combo. I do want to just ask you a couple more questions. We call these the happy hustle hacks and then the rapid fire round, and we'll wrap this up. This is just a tip, a tool, a tactic in a couple different disciplines, but something uniquely Jimmy. So let's talk about a health, happy hustle hack first. Something that you do, to stay optimized. Is there something you think about that, maybe
I got a pretty good one. I was having trouble waking up every morning on the time that I wanted to. And so with my coaching program, I got I got quite a few guys that live locally. And so one of the guys that I coach, they sign up every day, and one of them meets me at my door at 7 a.m. We go for a walk for 45 minutes to start the day. And so every single day, a different guy that I coach is standing at my door. So you're getting up out of bed and start your day with a walk, getting into nature, being with a friend. It's the perfect hack to starting a day. That's probably my best thing I've ever come up with.
Yeah, that's great, man. We do walk and talks, with our events, and we switch partners on the hike up because it's like 10 plus miles, and it's a really great conversation. But I love that they go to your door. It's like, that's forced accountability. Get up and get after it. Let's talk
Exactly.
about money. I see money as a tool, a frequency, right? It makes you more who you are. What would you say is a happy hustle hack when it comes to money? Maybe something you do that to save or spend or invest wisely.
Yeah, I mean, I have two bank accounts. Every time I get a check, 30% of it goes into one account, 70% in the other. That 30%, I can't even touch that account. My assistant has the login info and being able to use it. And then every time an investment opportunity or another house comes along, I use that money to buy it. And so I live off of 70% of what I make because I don't even see the rest of it. Like, if the money's in there, I'll spend it. So I never see it. It literally goes to another account, and then I just keep having enough money to keep investing over and over with that other account. So I would say that's probably the best hack I've come up with on money and investing.
Yeah, I like it, man. Yeah, separation of funds and automatically doing so. That's great. Let's talk about spirituality, man. I think it's just such again, important piece to the puzzle. I don't really care one religion or another for people. I just think it's important to have faith in a higher power. Do you have something that you do to connect to God or higher power? I know you're a man of faith, but is there something that you do that you could deem a happy hustle hack in this arena?
Yeah, I mean, we have a really beautiful relationship with God. I just all day long, I have a prayer in my heart. I feel like I'm being guided by God. I constantly am asking what I should do. And then my prayer every morning is probably the hack, if you could ask, is I pray every morning, God, please lead me to the people that need me. And that's the
Mm.
prayer I leave the house with. So when something happens, if I get rear-ended on the road or like I just get lost or whatever it might be, I assume this is God leading me to the people that I need, and it helps me to know that everything I'm doing is guided.
Mm. Gosh, that's a beautiful prayer. I pray every day. I might have to, use that one if you don't mind. God, please lead me to the people that need me, and that I might need. Right? That's beautiful. All right, man. This has been awesome. I want to put you through the rapid fire round. This is just real quick, random questions that I ask you and you answer honestly. First thing that comes to mind. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. Favorite food? Go.
Domino's Pizza.
Curveball. Favorite movie?
Braveheart and Shawshank Redemption.
Favorite book?
The Way the Superior Man.
Nice. What's your spirit animal?
It's a shark. I love sharks. Shark tattoo on my finger.
Oh, nice. Let me see it. Yeah.
Constellation, but it's a
Oh,
shark.
very cool. Very cool. Best business advice.
Do something for 10 years nonstop, and you're going to be ahead of 99% of the people, but it's the consistency over time that matters. The difference between successful and unsuccessful people is successful people have merely learned to do the things that unsuccessful people don't want to do. How's that?
Well said. 3 things you're most grateful for.
My friends, number one, my life, just my past, my history, like everything that's made me who I am today, all the experiences, all the pain, all the struggles, all the good parts, all the bad parts, all of it. And then the third one, honestly, America, man, the opportunity. I don't think we realize how good we have it to live where we do with the freedoms that we do. Like, our lives are so damn easy compared to any other generation,
So
any
true.
other place in the world. And it's, all of our problems are self-inflicted because life's so damn easy the way it is. And I'm just grateful for the people that, created that situation.
Amen, man. And last question, if you had a billboard for the world to see, what's that billboard read?
I would probably say life is a beautiful mess. And when you can see it that way, there's no bad days. There's no bad experiences. There's just learning opportunities, man. It's supposed to be messy, but that is the beauty of it.
Love it, man. Jimmy, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge you, brother, for sharing your love, your light, your wisdom, your just unapologetic truths, and just for supporting so many men out there and women who are being supported by the men indirectly. You're really changing lives, and I just appreciate you for just helping the happy hustlers out there and myself and connecting. Just looking forward to collaborating and supporting you any way I can, man. So just thank you.
Dude, thanks for having me, Kerry. Awesome, man. And let me know how I can support you in the future. Much love, my brother.
Yeah, and one more thing, I do want to just shameless plug again, guys. Check out his book. The best place to get your book. Go ahead and
Amazon. Just put my name in Amazon B1, and it'll
B,
come up.
Be one. Okay. And I end every single chat with just this final definition. And it is, Jimmy, I'm curious, what does happy hustling mean to you?
Tony Robbins says success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. And I believe that, man. You got to enjoy what you're doing. You got to love it.
Mic drop. Jimmy Rex, y'all. Thanks for watching and listening. We are out. Peace and love, everyone.